Good morning. The person who will be appointed as the 9th Prime Minister will have to undergo a confidence vote in the Dewan Rakyat once it is confirmed. In a statement on behalf of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, Comptroller of the Royal Household, Dato Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, said the confidence vote has to be undertaken as it is the proper constitutional thing to do to gain legitimacy. The King also reminded the leaders and representatives of the major political parties that for the sake of harmonizing the atmosphere, the winning member of the Dewan Rakyat should lend a hand to work with the unsuccessful, and all parties should be prepared to work in a team. In other words, the winner does not win at all, while the losers do not lose at all. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, is now able to start the process of choosing the new Prime Minister after all members of Parliament MPs submitted their statutory declarations (ST) before the 4 p.m. deadline on Wednesday to pick their choice of candidate. Former Deputy Prime Minister and UMNO Vice President Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob and Opposition Leader Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim have emerged as the main contenders for the post. There have been cases in the past where MPs were known to have more than one ST in their declaration of support. Hence, the King will chair a special meeting of Malay rulers this Friday to discuss the current issues. It was reported that the meeting is scheduled to start at 2:30 p.m. at Istana Negara. The meeting has been described as important as the King wants the appointment of the Prime Minister to be conducted properly. Malaysia needs to re-evaluate the COVID-19 pandemic follow-up development agenda, which affects national development. Caretaker Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said sustainable development and landscape architects play an important role in driving the nation's development towards low carbon and climate resistance.
He said this in a keynote address at the opening ceremony of the World Conference of Landscape Architects, International Federation of Landscape Architects, IFLA 2020, virtually on Wednesday. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said Malaysia will continue to support swift action and a transformative direction for the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
The pandemic has caused great disruption to our livelihoods and the economy. Therefore, we must ensure the recovery of our economy while continuing to grow and safeguarding the environment at the same time. This has always been a difficult issue, with competing interests on both sides, one in favor of a more gradual approach, while the other more radical and aggressive. The Malaysian government hopes to strike a fair balance between the two.
He added that Malaysia had managed to maintain 55% of the country's rainforest area, exceeding 5% of its previous commitment as a result of more than 60 strict laws and regulations. Malaysia also, he said, recognized the principles of the importance of environmental, social and governance union, as well as the sustainable development goals in the National Development Agenda. This will be reflected through the implementation of the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, which aims at fair development and equitable distribution of resources, as well as bridging gaps at all levels.
Meanwhile, Tan Sri Muhyiddin wanted the landscaping industry to be strengthened as a new catalyst and contributor to generate a new economy. Thus, policies and legislations related to the landscaping industry need to be strengthened, especially in creating green infrastructure for the benefit of the population and a quality living environment.
Landscape is green infrastructure that a nation must have as a necessity that provides multiple benefits to the people, the environment, and the economy. It facilitates symbiotic relationships and equitable social structure to meet the needs of communities across demographics and abilities. Parks, gardens, and green spaces are healing and restorative outdoor spaces, and we need to understand that all these are matters of public health. The government sees public urban landscape system as a prerequisite towards healthy communities. At the same time, one that mitigate climate crisis.
He explained that the practice of landscape architects also needs to be governed by the legal framework to protect the public's interest. At the same time, Malaysia also accepts the idea that people can grow their own food around homes, such as urban gardens, to reduce the burden of household costs, especially involving those living in big cities.
Food scarcity and inconsistent food chain supply as a result of the pandemic has also brought along that idea of edible cities and productive landscapes. Both concepts take on the agricultural landscape as part of the modern urban green infrastructure. In this respect, from the house kitchen and edible garden into a more extensive community garden where people can grow their food. We have to start thinking of agricultural landscape as necessary infrastructure across the cities. Landscape planning and design should integrate these aspects of modern agriculture approach into our urban fabric and understanding as an essential component of life.
The IFLA 2020, which was held online for the first time, is a platform to share ideas and inspiration to ensure that the landscape architecture profession is able to face the challenges of today and the era of rapid development for the next 10 years.
Opening another chapter in the Malaysian political landscape, rebooting a pandemic-stricken economy and curbing resurgence of COVID-19 infections. The outlook of Malaysia's economic prospects with Bank Islam's chief economist, Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid, this Saturday with me, Azaria Tagaya, at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
In Kedah, several villages and residential areas around Gunung Girai in Yan were hit by floods believed to have been caused by water surges from the waterfall areas at the foot of the mountain on Wednesday. Now, our Kedah correspondent, Kumaran Rajamoni, was there earlier and he is joining us now to give us an update. Kumaran, what can you tell us about the situation in Gunung Girai in Yan while you were there?
Yes, Pritha, as just you have mentioned just now, the flood was caused by heavy rain around the Girai mountain area, and which then caused water surges from a waterfall at the foot of the mountain, and it overflows into a few rivers around the area, which Sungai Tungik, Sungai Teroi and Sungai Puteri Mandi. And the incident is believed to have taken place around 5:30 p.m. A few villages around the Girai Hill affected by this flood, namely Kampung Permatang Keramat, Kampung Lubuk Boy, Pekan Yan Besar, and few others. Now, the Civil Defence Force confirms that the water level rose up to 1.5 meters, forcing the victims to be evacuated. It was so bad that you can see it actually moved cars away, huge damage to the roads and also the houses around this area. Now, as for now, it is estimated that at least 60 victims need to be evacuated to evacuation center. Two evacuation centers have been identified, which is Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Agama Yan and Sekolah Kebangsaan Teroi. Menteri Besar Muhammad Sanusi Muhammad Noor, in his statement earlier, confirms that an early report from the authority also confirms that 14 victims are those who are positive with COVID-19 and 45 under quarantine. This is a separate group, not the 60 that I have just mentioned just now. And measures are being taken to make sure that this victims who are positive with COVID-19 will be sent to a proper place for them to be evacuated, following all the SOPs. And the report also confirms that a 60-year-old man found dead, and his identity is still under investigation. Two incidents took place after the flood, which is one, a landslide in kilometer 8, Gunung Girai, and another is a house collapse. And these two incidents caused missing victims. The authorities are still into search and rescue operation, and the search and operation is still ongoing. And the authorities is also looking at a few victims that are trapped on the roof of their houses in Kampung Setoi. And disaster operational room was activated earlier today, and the victims can communicate with these authorities by calling the number 04-702-8799. I repeat, 04-702-8799. And I will be bringing more updates, I think, after we get confirmation from the authority on the numbers of the actual victims and how they're going to deal with this thing, because this is the very first incident that took place in many years. So we are looking at the possibilities of the authorities handling this case in a proper manner tomorrow. And I'll be bringing more updates tomorrow. So stay tuned with TV3. Pritha.
All right, thank you, Kumaran. And that was our Kedah correspondent, Kumaran Rajamoni. Now, moving on, the nation recorded the highest ever number of new COVID-19 infections in a day. According to the Health Ministry, 22,242 new cases were reported. 225 people succumbed to the deadly virus, bringing the country's COVID-19 death toll to 13,302. In the intensive care unit, there were 1,060 patients, with 540 of them requiring respiratory assistance. Of the 49 new clusters detected, 30 were related to workplaces. All trade and distribution subsectors in states under Phase 2 of the National Recovery Plan can resume operations even if the number of fully vaccinated individuals in those states has yet to reach 50%. The Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, in a statement, said the states involved are Kelantan, Terengganu, Pahang, Perak, Pulau Pinang and Sabah. Premises owners need to apply for permission to operate through the Centralised Information Management System (CIMS) via the MITI website. The statement said that industry players and premises owners can operate without having to wait for approval from the ministry. However, all proof of application through CIMS must be kept to be presented when needed. The ministry also said all of the companies involved do not need to submit details of employees who have completed their COVID-19 vaccine shots. The ministry, however, stressed that premises owners listed as trade companies that can resume operations must ensure customers who enter their premises show their digital COVID-19 vaccination certificate as proof. It said for Pfizer-BioNTech, AstraZeneca and Sinovac vaccine recipients, the individual must have passed the 14th day from the date of the second dose, while recipients of vaccines that require only one dose, such as Johnson & Johnson and CanSino, are only allowed after the 28th day. After the break, 8 nabbed during drug-fueled party at condo in Butterworth. Stay with us.
여기가 어딘지 아세요?
얘들아, 뭐 어쩌자는 거야? 당신들 이게 뭔지는 알고 써먹는 거야?
괜찮으세요? 아저씨!
Welcome back. National badminton men's doubles player Aaron Chia's bronze medal at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics was rewarded with a 50,000 ringgit contribution by the Malacca government on Wednesday. State Youth Development and Sports Committee Chairman Datuk Muhammad Rafiq Nizamuddin said the contribution was hoped to motivate all Malacca-born athletes to achieve excellence on the international stage.
Datuk Muhammad Rafiq said the success is a source of pride for the state government and the State Sports Council. In addition to the 50,000 ringgit, the state government also contributed another 3,000 ringgit for making it to the Olympics. In thanking the state government for the contribution, Aaron said as a Malacca-born, he was proud to have competed in the Olympics and for his podium finish. However, taking a long break will have to wait for the national doubles shuttler, as Aaron will be playing in two major tournaments, namely the Thomas Cup and the Sudirman Cup.
Lepas ni akan prepare macam sebelum pergi Olimpik macam ni, prepare lagi lebih banyak sebab Sudirman Cup dengan Thomas Cup memang team event. So kalau kita menang, kita pun kena menang, satu tim kena menang, tak boleh menang seorang-seorang macam ni. So saya rasa lepas ni balik memang kena bincang lagi dengan tim kita semua macam manalah ya.
He was speaking to reporters after the handing over ceremony by Yang di-Pertua Negeri of Malacca, Tun Muhammad Ali Muhammad Rustam. Also present was Malacca Chief Minister Datuk Sri Sulaiman Mat Ali. Besides Aaron, two other national badminton players from Malacca, namely mixed doubles player Goh Liu Ying and women's doubles player Lee Meng Yan, each received 3,000 ringgit from the state government for participating in the prestigious sporting event.
4 foreign women were among 8 individuals nabbed in a drug-fueled party at a condominium unit at Jalan Lestari in Butterworth, Pulau Pinang. The others nabbed were local men aged between 25 and 40.
Acting on a tip-off, a police team raided the unit located on the 10th floor of the condominium. State Criminal Investigations Department Chief SAC Rahimi Rais said when police arrived, the suspects were entertaining themselves to loud music while sipping drug-laced juices. Checks inside the unit led to the seizure of an assortment of drugs believed to be for self-consumption. Urine tests on 7 of them came back positive for drugs. Among the drugs seized were Aramin 5 pills, ecstasy pills, drug-laced juices and shabu. The case is being probed under Section 269 of the Penal Code as well as Section 12(3) and Section 15(1)(a) of the Dangerous Drug Act.
Still to come on Nightline, New Zealand Prime Minister warns a virus outbreak will grow as more cases were reported.
What if
여기가 어딘지 아세요?
얘들아, 뭐 어쩌자는 거야? 당신들 이게 뭔지는 알고 써먹는 거야?
괜찮으세요? 아저씨!
You're still with us on Nightline. Now on to the foreign fronts. New Zealanders must brace for additional COVID-19 cases from an outbreak that has plunged the previously virus-free country to a snap lockdown. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, in giving out the warning after 6 more positive tests, confirmed on Wednesday that New Zealand was dealing with the highly transmissible Delta variant.
The results that have come back from our case yesterday tell us 2 things. First, that we are dealing with the Delta variant. The second thing it tells us is that it is linked the current genome sequencing of cases in the New South Wales outbreak. Our case has originated in Australia.
Ardern also said the rapid rise to a total of 7 cases justified her decision to issue nationwide stay-at-home orders on Tuesday after the first case was identified. She said even with stringent restrictions in place, officials revealed that modelling predicted the cluster could grow up to 120 cases. In another development, more than 2,200 diplomats and other civilians have been evacuated from Afghanistan on military flights as efforts gathered pace to get people out after the Taliban seized the capital. Earlier, the Taliban have said they want peace, will not take revenge against old enemies, and would respect the rights of women within the framework of Islamic law. But thousands of Afghans, many of whom helped US-led foreign forces over 2 decades, are desperate to leave. The official did not give a breakdown of how many Afghans were among those who left, nor was it clear if that tally included more than 600 Afghan men, women and children who flew out on Sunday, crammed into a US military C-17 cargo aircraft. The Taliban, fighting since their 2001 ouster to expel foreign forces, seized Kabul on Sunday after a lightning offensive. A tsunami alert has been lifted after a 6.8 magnitude quake which struck Wednesday off the coast of the Pacific island nation, Vanuatu. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the earthquake was detected at a depth of 94 kilometers and was about 340 kilometers northwest of Port Vila. After revising its initial assessment, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said the risk of dangerous tsunami waves have now passed. Earlier, in a preliminary assessment, the center said hazardous tsunami waves were possible for coasts within 300 kilometers of the epicenter. Authorities in Australia and Fiji both discounted any tsunami threat to their shores. Bayern Munich beat Borussia Dortmund to retain German Super Cup title. Sports when we return.
거기 누가 없어요. 여기가 어딘지 아세요?
당신들 이게 뭔지는 알고 써먹는 거야?
괜찮으세요? 아저씨!
Now on to sports football. Robert Lewandowski scored twice for Bayern Munich to beat Borussia Dortmund 3-1 in the German Super Cup. Take a look.
The Poland star opened the scoring in the 41st minute before Thomas Müller scored Bayern's second in the 50th minute. Marco Reus pulled one back for Dortmund in the 64th minute. Dortmund's hopes for a comeback was snuffed out when Lewandowski pounced on an error by Manuel Akanji and fired a low drive into the bottom corner to make it 3-1 in the 74th minute as Bayern secured their first trophy of the season. Meanwhile, in the AFC Cup, Manivannan in maroon and green stripes kicked off their Group D campaign with a 2-0 win over fellow Indian side JSW Bengaluru in the Maldives on Wednesday. Goals from captain and Fiji international Roy Krishna and Shubhashish Bose on either side of half-time secured the 3 points for Manivannan.
A Belgian-British teenager took to the skies Wednesday in her quest to become the youngest woman to fly around the world solo. Let's take a look as 19-year-old Zara Rutherford took off from an airstrip in Courtrai, Western Belgium, in gusty, overcast conditions with her parents looking on. With that, I'm Pritha Manivannan. Thank you for watching, and remember, Malaysia, stay safe.